Hey guys, welcome back to Builds by Maz. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can easily replace your old bathroom faucet and drain in just a few simple steps. If you have a leaky faucet like we did, or you just want to make a change and don't want to have to hire a plumber, then follow along these steps and you'll have a new bathroom faucet in no time. Let's get started. The first step is to get some light below your cabinet and turn off the water lines leading to your faucet. Turn the valves clockwise on both the hot and cold water supply lines, and then turn on your faucet to both hot and cold sides to make sure both lines are completely closed off. Underneath the sink, you may have this large metal piece, which is basically like an oversized washer, held in place with a nut. This is actually what's securing the faucet to the sink so that it doesn't move around. Just loosen up the nut and you can remove this piece on both sides. We can then undo these waterline connections, unscrewing counterclockwise, and you should be able to do these by hand. Be sure to also have a towel ready to catch any water still in the pipes. This metal piece is called the lift rod. It's part of the drain system, and you can remove it by sliding it off the end of the pivot rod. With everything unattached, you should be able to remove your old faucet, pulling everything out from the top of the sink. So here's where the metal washers were that clamped it to the sink. These are the water lines, and this is the lift rod. As you lift the knob up and down, it also moves the pivot rod up and down. And this in turn is what opens and closes your sink drain. I'll be replacing all this with a new faucet kit, which I'll put a link to in the description. But it attaches differently and also has a different style of drain. If you're replacing a really old faucet like I am, you may have a lot of dirt and grime that was built up underneath, and it's going to require a thorough cleaning. Now with this newer faucet, these locking nuts attach to the same place as the water lines, making things a little bit easier. We need to unscrew them now, and they'll be reattached underneath the sink. There's also this rubber piece, which lines up with the holes in the sink and ensures that you've got a tight fit without cracking the porcelain. We'll install the new faucet by inserting it from the top and then reattaching the locking nuts from the bottom. Tighten these by hand only to make sure that you don't damage the sink. Check to see if the faucet is still loose at all, and if so, tighten it a bit further until you don't have any movement. You can now reattach your water lines by screwing them in to the underside of the faucet. If your old water lines were damaged or leaking, this would be a good time to replace them with newer ones, but mine were still in good shape, so I just reused these. Next, we'll install this new pop-up drain, which doesn't utilize this old mechanism. So first, we need to remove this large lock nut. Using an adjustable wrench or set of pliers, you can loosen up the lock nut by turning it counterclockwise, and after a few turns, you can unscrew it the rest of the way by hand. We're now going to remove this whole J-shaped section of the draining system. The straight section is called a tailpiece, and the U-shaped area is called a P-trap. This design works to help prevent sewer gases and odors from entering your home. There should be a coupling nut on either end, which you can unscrew by hand. Be sure to have a towel handy to catch any drainage water, but then you should be able to remove this whole assembly by pulling it straight down. We now need to remove this section, which is connected to the pop-up stopper. You'll notice that as I twist this, the stopper turns with it, but we actually need to unscrew these two pieces. The way to do this is to grab onto the stopper flange with some pliers to prevent it from moving as you twist off the bottom piece. Because of the pivot rod in the way, I had to do a bunch of these half twists, but after a little bit of work, it came free and I could separate the two pieces. On the new drain, we can remove this locking nut and the thick angled gasket, as these will go underneath the sink. Make sure to keep this thin gasket attached, as this needs to go above the sink. You'll notice there are a couple of notches cut out in this drain, and these are important because they need to line up with the overflow channels within the sink. Most bathroom sinks have these overflow prevention holes built in, so if the water gets too high, it'll go into these holes and run down a channel built into the inside of the sink and funnel into the drain. You can actually feel where the hole is right here, and that's what we need to line up this notch in the drain with. So I have it facing forward so that water running through the overflow channel will go straight into the notch and down the drain. You can then slide the angled gasket up from the bottom and secure everything in place with this locking nut. As it starts getting tight, make sure you're firmly holding the whole assembly in place so that the notch up above doesn't move out of its alignment. After putting this coupling nut back into place, we can then reinstall this P-trap. Just slide it up onto the tailpiece and get everything aligned, and then you can reattach it with these same coupling nuts. Finally, we can open back up our water supply valves, making sure we have a good flow of hot and cold water and that there are no leaks here or underneath the sink. Instead of using a rod behind the faucet, this drain works just by pressing down on it. Run a test with the drain in place to make sure that no water is leaking out. If it is, you may need to tighten up the drain by further twisting the lock nut underneath the sink. To release the water, just press on the drain again. This kit also comes with a couple of flow restrictors, which can alter the water flow to suit your preferences. To change these out, you can unscrew the cap at the end of the faucet. Then insert your water restrictor in place, making sure to also use this included gasket. Then you've just got to screw it back onto the faucet, and you can test out the different water flows to see what works best for you. But that's the last step in the process, and now you can enjoy having a new faucet and drain. If you've got a leaky faucet, or are looking for a cost-effective way to make an upgrade to your bathroom, I hope you feel confident that you can do the whole process yourself. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to catch the next project. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.